Please don't forget subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notified of new daily videos.
I'm Savannah. I love finding forgotten places, the kind where nature is reclaiming man's ambition. My friend Leland Sanders, a fellow urban explorer, tipped me off about Blackwater Pass, an old mining town high in the Arizona mountains, abandoned since the 50s. He called it a ghost town with actual ghosts, probably. I just saw photo opportunities. I packed my gear, my old DSLR, a few lenses, and enough provisions for a week. The drive out there was a descent into silence, the paved road giving way to gravel, then just tracks. The mountains loomed, red and stark. When I finally crested the last ridge, Blackwater Pass appeared below me, a cluster of skeletal buildings clinging to the hillside, bleached bones in the desert sun. No cell service, naturally. Perfect. The first few days were incredible. The dust-choked interiors, the sun-baked facades, the way the light fell through shattered windows, it was all art. I set up my camp in what used to be the general store, sweeping out the worst of the debris. But then things started. Little things. My camera battery, fully charged, would randomly die, then spring back to life. A faint whisper, almost like wind but distinct, would sometimes ripple through the absolute silence when I was alone in a building. I'd check for drafts for anything, but there was never an explanation. I'd feel a prickle on the back of my neck, the sensation of eyes watching from empty doorways. I brushed it off as the isolation, the creaks of old wood, the shifting desert sands. One evening, sitting by my small fire, I heard it clearly. Not a whisper, but a sound like heavy boots crunching on gravel, coming from the old assay office across the street. I grabbed my flashlight, my heart thrumming. "Hello!" I called out, my voice swallowed by the vast night. Nothing, just the wind, I told myself. But the next morning, my tripod, which I'd left collapsed against the counter in the general store, was standing upright in the middle of the floor, fully extended. My camera was still attached, but the lens cap was gone. That wasn't the wind. Later that day, exploring the old church, I heard it again. A low murmur like a hushed conversation, but I couldn't make out words. It seemed to come from the rafters, then from behind the broken altar. I started feeling profoundly uneasy, my artistic focus replaced by a constant vigilance. And then I heard my name. "Savannah," it rasped, sounding like dry leaves skittering across rock, yet undeniably my name. It came from right behind me. I spun around, camera falling from my hand, but there was nothing. Just the motes of dust dancing in the slivers of sunlight. The air grew colder, even in the desert heat. The wind picked up that afternoon, a dry, aggressive gale that whipped dust into stinging clouds. I retreated to the largest building, the old mine office, hoping to wait it out. The windows were mostly intact, but the roof groaned ominously. Inside, the wind howled through unseen gaps, creating a symphony of groans and creaks. I huddled in a corner, clutching my phone, no signal but comfort. That's when the whispers started again, louder now, clearer. They weren't words, not exactly, but a cacophony of distorted human sounds. Frantic breathing, choked sobs, a child's mournful hum. Then the building itself started to move. Not just creaking, but actual structural shifts. A wall bowed inwards, showering me with plastered dust and splinters. The floorboards bucked under my feet. And then I saw it. In the swirling dust outside the shattered main window, the sand and grit seemed to coalesce. It wasn't a dust devil. It was forming, solidifying into a towering, impossibly thin figure. It was all angles and shifting planes, like the desert itself had decided to rise and stand. It had no discernible features, just an echoing void where a face should be, absorbing the light. The wind shrieked, but it was its voice, full of the whispers I'd been hearing, now amplified into a monstrous chorus. The whole building began to tear itself apart, not from the wind, but as if something inside it was trying to unfold. I don't remember much of getting out. A wall collapsed inches behind me, sending a wave of dust and debris that tasted like iron and stale air. I ran, scrambling over fallen beams, my lungs burning, my mind screaming. I didn't stop until I reached my truck, fumbling for the keys, throwing myself inside. I drove, not looking back, the engine screaming as I sped down the mountain tracks, leaving Blackwater Pass to its impossible, shifting horror. I'm home now, in my apartment, thousands of miles from that place. But sometimes when the wind blows just right outside my window, I hear it. A faint whisper of my name, carried on a gust that smells faintly of dust and decay. I check my camera. My last few photos are just static, but one image, blurry and distorted, looks like the side of an old wooden building, but the timbers are strangely elongated, reaching towards an unseen sky, like hands in prayer, or reaching for me. I can't shake the feeling that I didn't just leave Blackwater Pass. Something from it came with me. I don't know if it's over or if Blackwater Pass is just waiting for me to close my eyes. Every gust of wind now sounds like it's calling me back.
If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button to like it. And please do subscribe to support the channel.